What's good, y'all? Welcome back to My First Kicks. This is episode 128, and this week I welcome Jonathan Miller, aka JSM, to the podcast. This episode is a hell of a time. Learned a lot about JSM, learned a lot about customizing, and we talk about everything from creating content to customizing sneakers. It's a hell of an episode. I didn't mean to say it again, but I think you're in for a treat. We talk about, I lost an episode. We recorded this a while ago. He was actually supposed to come out 2 weeks ago, I want to say. And it was a mistake on my part, but I touch on it in the episode a little bit. Yeah, just, you know how it goes. Sometimes stuff doesn't record. But what's really cool is we definitely talk about his collaboration with AD Sneaks, former guest AD Sneaks. Shout out Andy. We talk about the shoe that those two put together in collaboration with one of Andy's students. And very, very cool to just hear about how the shoe came about, what happened with the shoe once it was done. Uh, and it's cool. He's still getting featured. Well, they're both getting featured on Nice Kicks, and I think Complex also retweeted it. But it's a great cause. I hope more customizers do that as well. But it's just really cool to see what they were able to put together. We talk about just his hustle, overall hustle, and you know, it's it's an inspirational chat along with just lots of insight. But this week is, I think, the by the time this episode, well, the if you're listening to this episode on the Sunday of the week that this came out, it's your boy's birthday. So hit me up. Would love to, if you share and hit me up with a little happy birthday. We'll appreciate it. Your boy is old as as Shoe God Dre has already dubbed me. I am part of the old heads of sneakers. But what's really cool is that, a couple years ago, I didn't have this podcast. And now that I have listeners and people are checking out, and I get new listeners every week, it's a growing community, and would love to hear from y'all, even if it's a late happy birthday. Shout out to you for thinking about me. And would love to, it's 4th of July weekend, so let me know what sneakers you guys are getting. Use the hashtag MyFirstKicks for that. We got to start posting. I'm going to start posting more in terms of just like what sneakers I have on, and I could just use the hashtag MyFirstKicks on there, just so we can get a little bit more communicating. Anything that you share using the hashtag and tag and like use the tag or like at me, I will repost it on the story. So that is the incentive. So shout out to y'all for your listening. It's wild. We're up to episode 128. I thought this wasn't gonna make it past 50. So 50 was a big number too, but it's wild. We're here, 128. I say it every week that we keep going. It's wild. These numbers keep going up. These guests get greater and greater. So on to where you can find John. You can find him at JSM_801_customs. Hit him up for your custom needs. This man does amazing work. Like, it's everything that he puts out is fire. I'll add more of his like stuff in the description of this podcast. So if you need to find him or want to cop some of his stuff, it's all there. And you know where to find me. I am Who Is Haas on all social medias. Follow the podcast at My First Kicks Pod. Follow the podcast on YouTube. If you're watching this, shout out to you. My First Kicks on YouTube and TikTok, and My First Kicks Pod everywhere else. And if you have a My First Kick story, write into me, myfirstkickspod@gmail.com. Shout out to y'all. And on to this week's guest, JSM. But before we jump into this episode, I want to talk to you about Drops and Collect by Soul Savvy. With Drops and Collect, you are able to stay ahead of the game. Using drops, you can enter raffles and set alerts for any restocks. Well, I can't stop it anyway. Whatever. Before we jump into the episode, I want to talk to you about Drops and Collect by SoulSavvy. With Drops and Collect, you'll be able to stay ahead of the game. Using Drops, you can enter raffles and set alarms for any restocks. It would also help you to never miss a release ever again. I mean, my notifications on, and every morning my notifications go crazy. It's right before 10 o'clock. And after you cop some fresh kicks, use Collect to manage your collection. I'm still in the process of adding my kicks. I mean, I have a ton, but it's fine. But what's cool about Collect is that you can also make trades with no fees if you're a current member. But don't worry, if you aren't a member, you just have to pay a flat rate of $8. Now, how do you get these apps? Just use the links in the description of this podcast. Download these apps and grow your collection by also helping the podcast. That's right. Just use the links in the description and start expanding your collection today. Hey, John, welcome to the podcast.
Man, I appreciate you having me.
Yo, first time, long time. Like it's this has been, I want to say it's a long time coming because I had Andy AD Sneaks on the podcast. I want to say it's early on, but I know I had him on like last year, and now me and him have become cool.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, it's been a while that I had him on. I had him on, I want to say when he was at like 20 to 30K on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, that was well, that's cool because that's where I'm at right now. So hopefully by the time we're done with this podcast, I'll be where he's at. You're a lucky charm, huh?
I mean, I wish it worked for me because because I am only at 500, but it is what it is. Social media is hard, but you seem to have mastered it, in my opinion, because I would love to be at 20,000. So
I just hit 29.6 today. Mm-hmm. But I gave up the following. My last page was at 282K followers, because in my line of business, a big following isn't healthy. Mm-hmm. It isn't healthy mentally. It isn't a healthy business because, unfortunately, I have to DM everybody back.
Right. Yeah.
So when you have 282,000 followers, you maybe get 5% of that in your DMs. And what happens is I like to build a little rapport with all my clients and my customers, and I'll be talking to someone, but I'll be, in the car, and I'll be chatting it up with a DM, just answering it. And then the next morning it's gone and I didn't remember the name. And it's like, oh man, now this guy thinks I ghosted him. So now this dude has this bad taste in his mouth about me. And then they're talking bad, and, and it's just bad for business. So I ended up selling that page and starting all over again. And I actually let my page start growing this year. I capped it at 10 and I left it at 10. 10's that's my go-to number. But some of these brand deals that I'm kind of working with, they want me to be at like 50K. So I let it start growing, I would say January. So it's grown about 20,000 followers since January.
That's wild. That's wild. You gotta give me the secret sauce over here, man. Because I am struggling, man. I've been struggling. I just don't. My thing is just, and I mean, I talked to Andy about it too. It's just like, I understand the premise of like backlogging content and stuff like that in order so that you're consistently posting. But for me, I think it's hard for me to come up with content that I'm proud of to always put out. Yeah. So that way I'm just like, you know what? I'll post when I feel like I get into the habits of like, like I'll always post every week. You're going to get the maximum
some kind of content.
Yeah, you're gonna get two. You're gonna get two posts. You're gonna get the post about the podcast dropping on Fridays, and then you're gonna get another post about the video going up on YouTube. And it was just like trying to add in like the stuff I was doing on TikTok in there for IG, and like trying to, because like I don't want my page to just be like, these are the top 5 sneakers you should be buying this week, and
this is what's coming out this week.
And I don't want to do that either, because taste is subjective. I'm not going to tell everybody what they should and should not like. Right. That's what sneaker culture is not about. Right. Sneaker culture.
100%. It's not.
Yeah. It's all about conversations and you telling me what you like. You telling me why I like, why I like. I'm going to be like, All right, I don't like those, but I want to understand why you like
Respect,
those. Yeah,
respecting what other people like. And
yeah.
I have a big respect for what other people like because it's like, man, if you like that ugly ass shoe, you got some cojones on you. Like I respect that you like that shoe because but it is that's
Listen,
what it's supposed
so
to be,
when
you know?
Footscapes were going crazy, people were like, "You gotta have a pair of Footscapes." I was like, "Nah, man, get that
Nah,
out of here. Get
no
that out
sir,
of here."
no sir, no footscapes. Nope, I'm good, good.
Man,
But yeah, for me, it's like it's not the consistency of posting;
mhm.
it's the quality of the content. Like I do at least, and this isn't exaggerating, at least 50 to 100 pairs of customs a week.
Right, yeah.
And you only see what I really want to put out there. I
Mhm.
do a lot of stuff for schools, businesses that's really not tasteful to anyone that doesn't have some type of feeling for that logo that's on that shoe.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to throw a shoe out there like a Heritage One with a company logo that most, they're going to look at it as like, what is this? But they don't understand the context behind the custom. This was
Mhm.
specific for somebody's business or school, and they don't feel it. So I don't get a post every week. So I just post what I have when I have it. That's just
Yeah.
it. So, you
But
know,
because before I forget, let's just go into like you
let's
introduce
run it.
into you introducing yourself because we're already start talking about your page, but so just like introduce yourself to the listeners and let them know where to find you and
um,
push what you want to
My
push.
name is Jonathan Millar. They also know me as JSM 801. I've been doing custom sneakers for about 15 years, give or take, in and out. You can find me on all platforms. You just type in JSM 801 Customs. It's got some underscores and whatnot, but you'll find me all platforms with that. So, but Instagram is mainly my go to. You'll see my newest content, my newest creations all on there. So,
Mhm.
just give me a follow.
Yeah, please give him a follow because I'm following him, and of course we the podcast. I got to ask you the question, man, and the question is, what's your first kicks? What's that first pair of sneakers you absolutely needed to have?
Oh man, it's crazy that because not too many people really ask that question. It's a new question
Mhm.
that TikTok's been going around, so you're definitely pioneer with that. But man, my story of my very first sneaker, I was in coming off of sixth grade, going into seventh grade, and
Mhm.
here in Salt Lake, sneakers weren't really like a thing. There was no collecting, but I remember walking into Foot Locker just the last week of summer break, going to seventh grade, and I have about $100. My mom, we came from a family that wasn't come from money. Everybody's story, whatever.
Mhm.
We didn't have a lot of my gap.
Not
My
everybody's
budget
story.
was $100. It's in my neighborhood. It was, you know what I mean. So my budget was $100
Yeah.
for pencils, papers, notebooks, clothes, underwear, socks.
Mhm.
And I walk into Foot Action and I see this shoe. And because I didn't know I was colorblind till I was about maybe 14, 15 years old,
Right.
I thought the shoe was green.
Jeez.
The whole time I thought the shoe was green. I tried to find the shoe later on, thought it was green, but I walked into Foot Action and I seen this shoe on the shelf and it was $69.99. That was pretty much my budget.
Mhm.
And my mom said, if you buy the shoe, that you basically ain't you getting papers and pencils and that's it. You ain't getting no socks, no underwear. And I was like,
Yeah.
let's run it. She said, okay, let's run it. And that's when I picked up my very first love, the Nike Barrage. Um, I was playing football back then. I was a big football guy. This had that vibe all over it. So the Nike Barrage was my very first love when it comes to sneakers.
Mhm. That
Super,
I mean,
super sexy shoe.
full disclosure, this is the second time we're recording this episode. Uh, we'll blame it on me losing the episode.
Ah,
And yeah, the first time you showed me, I did not know what the shoe was. And
no.
after that, I was just like, now you showing me again, and I'm like, yeah, I might have to get a pair too.
It's a cool, and it comes in a lot of cool colorways. Marshall Falk was the one that made this shoe popular
Right.
when he played for the Rams. They got a Rams colorway. The Raptor colorway is really cool.
Hmm.
They have a 49ers colorway, which has gold on it. And then they have just a red, black, and white, which I have. But yeah, and it comes in a low and a mid as well. But man, this was my very first love. I fell in love with this the minute I seen it.
Nice. I got a little synopsis to read for you for the listeners here. This is I got one. I found one on Foot Locker, so let's go with this. With some serious '90s vibe, the Nike Air Barrage brings an iconic, bulky aesthetic from sneaker culture's passed back into the forefront for its first return. Well, all right, listen, this is the 2020. I think this is the 2020 release.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
re-release.
yeah.
Mhm.
Originally dropped in 1995 as a turf shoe and donned by big names in the NFL like Marshall Faulk. The Nike Air Barrage comes in both high and low silhouettes, as well as a range of OG colorways for you to take your pick with eye-catching Air branding running along the shoe's outsole from heel to toe and massive swoosh stretching across the shoe's upper. This modern take
Mhm.
on a Nike Classic is ready for the street. Check. I don't know if you have this colorway. Check out the Hyper Great colorway, a nod to the Toronto Raptors' first
Yeah.
NBA title, with its black, white, purple colors mixed throughout the shoe's upper, or choose from one of the other eye-catching Nike Barrage to drip to take your 90s look to the next level. I just had to read that last part because it sounds so stupid.
Uh, no, that Raptors colorway is super, super
Mhm.
dope. But unfortunately, these shoes in my size, because they're so rare, because I think you get like one size 13 in a size run, it's like 700-800 bucks.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And this was the first one that I ever had. And I do have a couple other colorways, but I'll get the Raptors once I come across a cool deal. But these ones was a must because this is the retro version of it, but this is the colorway that I had, so I had to have that one.
Yeah.
And I think I paid like 250 for it.
See, like you, that's on the re-release.
Yeah, yeah, that was after. That was just right after, because I couldn't remember what the shoe was. I was looking for this green shoe.
Hmm.
They do have a Heineken version of this shoe. It's like
Hmm.
that Heineken green. I don't know what color that is, but it's a Heineken green, but it goes for like 2 grand. And I'm
Jesus.
like, that's not it. It was like a dark green.
Uh-huh.
Could never find it. And then I found, later on found I it was a black one I had. So
So, I mean, you mentioned you're colorblind. So, like,
mhm.
did you or do you like do you use like the glasses that'll help you?
Them shits ain't real. Them shits ain't real. Like, so I have uh my situation with being colorblind is I can see light colors. It's once
Mhm.
it gets to be so dark, they all look black to me. So they say one in
Mm.
three people have the condition I have. I only know one other person, happens to be a little kid.
Mhm.
But I grew up till I was like 14, 15 and didn't really know. So it kind of helps in my situation with colors, because if you notice, I have a lot of crazy colorways
Right,
that put
yeah.
together because I see it different than you do.
Mhm.
Um, but Angelus always takes care of me. They put the labels on the bottle for me. So I have a setup that helps me out, so I don't have any issues. My wife set up this whole display so I can see every bottle, so I know what color I'm using.
Mhm.
But no, I don't know what midnight navy looks like. I don't know. To me, black is just dark white, and white is just light black. So whatever, it's it's whatever. It
White
don't
is
affect
like
my.
white is light black is the most funniest thing I've ever heard.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't hurt my business. So don't be scared to send me your shoes. I promise I ain't gonna turn them the wrong color. But
Oh man, that's wild. Oh, so then like in high school, were you just like this was a shoe in middle school that you got?
yeah, first
Middle
grade in
school?
first into seventh grade. Yep, my first
Hmm.
shoe in seventh grade. So middle school.
So middle school, was it then like, all right, now like were you getting the compliments that you thought you would? Like what was it
No,
like?
heck no, 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 no. From my guys that played football, from
Uh,
my teammates, right? The guys that played football,
mhm,
they appreciated the shoes. But nah, there was no sneaker culture here. Nobody cared if he wears Vans, if he was
mhm,
wearing Jordans. Like, there was only like high schoolers and maybe like two or three in my neighborhood that were actually wearing Jordans and
mhm.
pennies and stuff like that. So sneaker culture was, you wasn't getting, if you're in the sneaker game to get compliments in the 90s, it wasn't there,
Yeah.
especially in Salt Lake City. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? We didn't even have Air Force Ones in here until like late mid 2000s. You couldn't buy Air Force Ones in Utah.
That's wild.
So no, in
Was it
Utah you
Karl
didn't get no love
Malone
for sneakers.
on like didn't Karl Malone wasn't Karl like Karl Malone
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
Nike
yeah,
athlete, right?
yeah. No, 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 no. He was. Let me just grab this real quick. Let me get out the camera. So, Karl Malone's my guy. I actually
Yeah.
I do customs for Carl.
Uh-huh.
Um, Bam,
Uh-huh. It was a conference. That is crazy.
autographed, size 16, game worn sample.
Jesus. Those look
And bro,
clean.
it hasn't yellowed at all. It
Yeah.
hasn't. There's no ungluing, no nut, bro. This is the most padded shoe. Look at the embroidery on this thing.
Oh
Like,
man.
shout out to my guy Abby. But yeah, bro, this is the cleanest. Like, it's over 20 something years old, and
Hmm.
it's this. They don't make them like this no more. There's no cracking in the suede.
Yeah,
There's
that is
no like
wild.
it's beautiful, beautiful sneak. It's just big.
So like I mean so like always feel like that basketball is what like pushes what people are wearing in the especially in like a basketball city, right? So
Yeah.
like where people just like it was just whatever. It was like not even like Karl Malone had any impact. John Stockton, no
Nah,
impact.
nah, not when it comes to sneakers because John Stockton wore a sneaker that wasn't real popular, and that's why like I see a lot of guys on TikTok.
Yeah.
Shout out to my guy. Once he sees this and hears me saying this, he's gonna know it's him. He Morgan was actually going around saying what sneaker represents your city, and this guy on
Oh
TikTok,
man.
he's like, oh, it's he pulled up one of the shoes, which jazz player, one of the jazz players wore it, and I'm like, that wasn't sneaker culture when I was growing up. There
Oh,
was
was
no
it a vintage dad that pulled out
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and for me, cool cat, super dope cat.
Yeah.
We did all star together, whatnot, super cool cat. But for me, it's because he's too young. He was too
Hmm.
young. So that shoe, them shoes, the Jazz wore. Nobody was chasing them shoes. Nobody was chasing going out and buying Converse because the guys were playing. Because bro, we had 2 good years in the mid '90s, and we never won a championship, and it's hard being a Jazz fan. But no, it wasn't reflecting what we was wearing on it. There was guys buying
It's gotta
Jordans,
be hard
and
now, is all I'm saying.
hey, bro, hey, bro, I'm gonna put it to you like this. All right, both my teams, my NFL team and my NBA team,
Uh-huh.
y'all are just fans, but I actually get paid for my teams because I work with them. Like I got a
Right.
check from the Dallas Cowboys and I got a check from the Utah Jazz. Like
Oh
I'm
my
okay.
god.
I'm cool. I'm cool. like
Help me get a
um,
check from the Knicks or the Mets, please. Help me. I'll
um
host something.
right? But no, it's definitely a blessing to work with the Jazz. Real
Yeah.
cool people over there. The Jazz Bears, my guy, got a real good relationship with
Mhm.
him. Everyone over the Jazz, Peyton, Mike, Nala, all these guys, they just a real good relationship. So no, even though we're not the great, but we always make the playoffs. Even though we don't make it past the first round, we have a great regular season. It's fun being a Jazz fan.
Mhm.
Um, we get young talent. We get to see these guys super young before they get traded and blow up. So we get to see them before they're famous. So
I mean, you had Spider and young COVID, but that was
oh
it, man.
man, cool cats. I got a jersey. I still got to hang up. But yeah, I got all the jerseys and stuff in my shop. I hang
Yeah.
up that I do work with these guys.
It's wild. How did you, I mean, yeah, definitely want to know about like how'd you get into that space because like how did you get into customizing and what was it that just like led you towards that route?
It
And
was
then
being broke, bro. It was being broke. It was not having no money for sneakers, and I had a taste for rare stuff very young. I wanted
Mhm,
stuff that nobody had because my dad's from back east, and so my summers I would we'd go through Chicago and I'd be in Wisconsin,
mhm,
and I would bring because they were always ahead of the game, the fashion world, right? So I would
right.
always go there my summers and I would bring something back, and my friends were like, "Yo, what are you wearing? Like, what is this?" And so I got a real taste for rare stuff
Oh, you
early
were
on.
that
So I
kid.
wanted,
You were that
yeah,
kid.
yeah, that was
You're
me,
the mid
yeah,
'90s kid. That you'd be
yeah.
like, oh, you listening to Stretch and Bobbito like
Yeah,
that.
100%. I was that guy. Like, when I remember when I brought Kevin Gates back here, and they was like, "Yo, who's this?" I'm like, "This dude from, he's in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
He originally from Louisiana, but no, but I was that kid. I would go out there and I'd cop something cool, bring it back. So it kind of fell into sneakers. I wanted to buy stuff that nobody had,
Mhm,
but it came to a point where I couldn't afford the stuff that nobody had. These guys had what I could afford. So the best way was to maybe change up a colorway a little bit, add a little bit more green,
mhm.
um, paint a midsole, change it up just a little bit to where people might think that, hey, this is the version that they never seen before. Like Nike
Yeah.
might have put this out. So that's what it became for me. I wasn't painting to be in business. I wasn't painting to be, I didn't expect none of that. I just wanted to have something that was maybe a little bit cooler than everybody else's, but it backfired because everyone just always shit all over my page every time I posted something. Because I didn't post that I painted them. I
Yeah.
didn't post that, hey, I'm painting sneakers. I'm a customized. It wasn't like that back when I started painting. I just
Mhm.
posted up what I was wearing and be like, yo, these are fake. They didn't come with a green midsole. And I was like, man, I used a real shoe. I used a real paint. What's fake about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I pioneered through that hate. And but that's what got me into it was just for the love of having something that nobody else did.
Like doing that did it like and then like I'm pretty sure because I mean when you talk to Andy, like he said that now there is an actual sneaker community. Did you see that come like build
Yeah,
up as you're
100%.
doing that? Like what was that
hmm
like? Well,
I watched it go from being the number one hated thing, the
hmm
pioneers like Tragic 1993, Mosh. You had like Kid Casso, all these guys that were big in the game that I was
hmm
looking up to, but there was only like a dozen of them. It's like Angelus was sharing everybody's post the minute you painted something because there was so few customizers, so much stuff, and then you'd snag like 2,000 followers. And then I seen the community shift to like in the comments, oh, these are fake, to like, oh, these are pretty cool. And then,
hmm
oh, these are fire. And then I just watched it kind of like be accepted. Right. And now there's still kind of that everyone's got an opinion, but now they're just everybody's rocking with customs.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean even in air, it's a custom.
yeah, 100%. 100%.
Like they
Like,
couldn't get
y'all,
the original Jordan one, so they had to get uh
shout
who
out
did
to
it?
SD
Yeah,
Customs. Yeah,
SD
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 Customs.
had to
Yeah,
do
shout
it.
out. Yeah.
It's so wild how big customizing has become. And I mean like even like in the early days of collecting and like being on Instagram, like as you said, like Mosh and I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember who. I mean, even from the jump, Sabotage.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. OG.
Oh,
And
super
I
OG.
think what did it was like Entourage, the TV series,
Mm-hmm.
when like Turtle, when him and Vince went to go travel, to go get the
Futuraras.
undefeated on road, yeah, on
Yeah.
Rodeo, or not Rodeo, but on Fairfax,
Yeah.
and they sold out. And then they went out to Santa Monica, they sold out, and he's like, "Yo, I bought you a pair of $20,000 customs and the
Uh-huh.
Pookie Jamas." Like that to me was like I'd watch that episode over and over, and I'd look at this Asian dude in LA, and I was like, "That's gonna be me one day. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be me. I'm gonna be the guy." And then it was Darren Williams. Darren Williams got me in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that first started rocking my customs, kind of putting my name out there. And that's when I started feeling like Pookie Jama. I was like the secret guy that was working out of his basement. Like, oh, you're not in Japan, bro? You in Salt Lake? Like, you know what I
How did
mean?
how did that even connection happen, man? That's so wild. Like,
Because Salt Lake's very,
yeah.
nickname for Salt Lake City is Small Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows everybody. I've been here my whole life. I know all the hoopers here. I know everybody here. We got a real cool vibe, but you just kind of one person knows one person, and then Darren Williams joins the team. And I knew the car guys real well because I was in the
Mm-hmm.
car scene, and Darren Williams getting his cars fixed up, putting the systems in it, the TV screens, the rims. And then they just like, hey, you gotta meet my dude JSM. Like he's nice with the customs. And back then I wasn't so nice, like,
Mm-hmm.
but it was nice for when it was back then. It was all right. But and then we actually took a shoe that, man, it got so much hate. I took the cherry 12s,
Uh-huh.
and you know how that whole thing went down with the war flag being on the insole, the Japanese war flag that got the recall. So I took out the Japanese war flag off of the insole and painted on the outside of the shoe, and it ended up looking pretty dope. And I,
Uh-huh.
I liked it. He liked it, but the internet basically just was like, "Yo, you might as well just be a Nazi," and all this like crazy stuff. And they went wild. But that's where it started for me. And then it was like, "Oh, you got these," and then it just moved out throughout the team. And then each player got traded. So
Mm-hmm.
like when Gordon went to he got traded out,
To
like
North Carolina.
right, North Carolina. And
Mm-hmm.
then like as everyone got traded, Jeremy Evans, as they got traded, so did like the word of me spreading around the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing stuff for like the New York Nets, or sorry, the New Jersey Nets, Brooklyn Nets. Let's see, who else was I working with back then? The Nets, some on the Timberwolves,
Mm-hmm.
Gordon Hayward. So just a little piece everywhere. So it kind of just word of mouth is what happened with it. So it was cool.
That's wild. Like what like buying what was the first sneaker you bought off of customizing money? And it
Oh
like yeah.
man, who man, big sneakers. Like, I mean, man, I was buying everything though. Like real
Yeah.
talk, like I was just buying everything that was getting released because I was collecting Air Force Ones, I was collecting pennies, so I was buying whatever that really, really made it. But I can't even remember what I did with my first because I was doing customs for like $50, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't able to pay the bills. Like it wasn't paying the bills for me. It was a part-time gig, and then I got hit up by a company out of LA called Traditions in the
Mm-hmm.
Beverly Hills Center, and that's when it became crazy. We did like thousands in pre-order sales. They shut down the mall. We had this little party where like a lot of these ball players came out. Um, Justin Bieber's stylist was there. Like,
Wow.
it was cool. And then I moved out to LA for a little bit, doing customs because out there, bro, I couldn't keep them on the shelves for $2,000. You know,
Mm-hmm.
out here, I couldn't sell them for 250.
Mm-hmm.
So filled out my contract, did that for a little while, then came back to Salt Lake, and just kind of fell out of it a little bit because I didn't like the way the sneaker game was going, and then right back
Well,
into it.
what was the first inkling that you were like, all right, this is changing on me?
When Nike started releasing all the Jordan 4s and 3s with Nike signs,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the guys that I knew like would call me OG Johnny because I was buying all the shoes from Japan, all the
Mm-hmm.
old 88s and 89s, and then I would get them here and I would soul swap them, spend all this money into soul swapping, and then all of a sudden Nike's like, oh, we're gonna drop in 2011, oh, we're gonna drop the white cements with Nike signs and call them the 88s, and I'm just like, I put in like $700 and like 20 hours into this shoe, and now little kids gonna be walking around with Nike signs like y'all just like, and then True Blues, and then like Fire Red, like all this stuff. I'm like, there goes my whole collection. Metallic fives, like all this OG stuff that I've been like restoring to wear. Y'all just gonna re-release on me and just make my collection just worthless at this
Mm-hmm.
point. Like I'm not this guy anymore. So I kind of stepped away from it for a little bit.
That's got to be like a blow. Like that's
Uh,
because like
I was hurt,
yeah, you
hurt.
put especially when you put in time to restore a pair, and then for them to
Mm-hmm.
just be like, "Now we just coming back out with them. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
Like,
Because it was crazy. Because right now you see a lot of customizers think that they started the aging trend that's going on
right,
right
yeah.
now. I hate to tell y'all, I don't care who you are, I ain't gonna drop no names, but y'all didn't start it. We've been doing that since like 2011, bro.
Yeah.
You didn't start it. Like the cool thing was is to make the old sneakers look new and the
Mm-hmm.
new sneakers look
Like,
old.
oh, yeah.
We've been doing that, bro. So you guys, elevated. I'll give y'all props for that. But we've been aging sneakers for decades, bro.
I
This
mean,
ain't
even
new.
even Nike was doing that. Like,
Yeah.
in I mean, I was talking to Sneaker Den recently, and we were talking about there was a in 2007 Nike released the Be True to Your School like retro, but it was
Right.
all age dunks,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it was supposed to be like they went nowhere. Apparently, they went nowhere. But like, yeah, it's
And
wild. Like, yeah, I don't know why this new obsession, like this brand new obsession with let's get age sneakers as being a
yeah,
thing now. So
it's
yeah.
kind of crazy. For me, it was just like when I got a new pair of sneakers, I wanted to make it look like my original sneakers, but I couldn't
Hmm.
wear my original sneakers because some of them you can't get soles for.
Hmm.
So it was like the next best thing. But you got to age it the right colors. These creams and these yellows that everyone's threes don't turn yellow, bro. Like these fours ain't they're turning orange. You look at an
Hmm.
89, that thing is orange. You check out my 86 Air Big Bubble Custom, and bro, people couldn't believe that that wasn't an 86. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the new one. They're like the cracking, the color, it looks like exactly how it's supposed to be. That's because them sneakers didn't age nice and even and
Hmm.
perfectly yellow. It's no, there's you'd had to be around back then to actually know what these colors look like age. So yeah, it's the game's changed a little bit.
It's wild. I'm very like we talked about it because we've been talking beyond
Yeah,
this
yeah,
before this. So like
yeah.
just to give some context, but like before this, like you touch on your customizing, but like you have had like you only touched on it a little bit about like your career path. Like what I want to know what keeps you so motivated to just be like instead of just like stopping at one thing, you're still like you'll move to the next thing. But I mean, definitely like
Right.
if you could like talk about a little bit of like where you started and then how you bounced around and now like how you've made like but because at first before you jump into it, but I want to say that you definitely you breathe success into stuff that you touch. So like how do
I
you
appreciate that.
yeah, because like now
Uh,
this is big, so yeah.
the difference for me and a lot of these money grabbers, and this isn't me hating on another man doing what I'm doing,
Hmm.
and you don't have to be a certain type of person to do what I do, but there's something that guys that have been into sneakers before the customizing, they hold a certain sense of detail or sense of detail that a lot of people that just seem whether they painted canvas and it didn't work out, they weren't making any money, so they're like, oh, I'll just paint sneakers,
Hmm.
but they don't really know anything about sneakers. They don't know the history of sneakers. But I had all of that, so I feel like a lot of the small details um, that I add to these shoes that only like certain people would know about if you've been around the game for long enough. They appreciate that stuff. So I make sneakers for actual and I hate this term, but guys that love sneakers, like they're real sneakerheads. They've been
Yeah.
buying sneakers before they were getting likes on Instagram, and they're
Mhm.
going to buy sneakers after this trend goes away because soccer moms love dunks and call themselves sneakerheads now. Like that's not like that. That's cool and everything, but it's not the truth. Like you just like a panda. That's awesome, cool, but you can't tell me anything about that dunk. You can't tell me, there's no history behind it. So
Mhm.
you got to have a sense of history and where this all started from to make certain customs. And that's why I think I've been so successful, is because I tend to make stuff for the guys that love sneakers. That's why my sneakers look as factory as possible. They look,
Mhm.
I'm not doing anything that wouldn't come on a sneaker from Nike. I try to
Mhm.
keep it as simple and plain. But even from the get-go, because I made I did a Yeezy 2 Solar Red on a Jordan 4
Mhm.
that blew up everywhere, but it was because I took all the small details, the tongue tags, and then I think what sneaker mag? I forgot what magazine it was. Might have been Sneaker Freaker mag, but they labeled me as the godfather of tongue branding because I was the
Mhm.
very first one that was changing tongue tags. Certain stuff
Nobody.
like that. I was
I'm pretty sure nobody wanted to freaking break out a seam ripper and try to mess with tongue.
Nah, no one
Yeah.
was doing that back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No one was really doing back then, and it was cool because me and Tragic, we knew of each other back then, but we wasn't really like working together, or we really wasn't friends like that back then. But me and him both had sneakers that China
Mhm.
was replicating. We did customs, and they was making them and selling them in China. So that,
Mhm.
to me, that was like, oh man, like this is what it feels like to like break through and kind of being somebody in the sneaker world, in the
Yeah.
customizing world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I bounced around, man. I've been in the NBA, been in the NFL, been into the MLS. I've been in the MLB. I've done a little bit of everything. But I always come home to the guys that love sneakers because real
Mhm.
talk, them are the guys that appreciate the stuff that I do, and I just like the looks on their faces because they appreciate the stuff. Where these guys with money, they just throw them in the closet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
I
always come
agree.
back home to my real sneaker lovers.
I mean, I was because like I guess I fucked up the way I'm trying to ask. I was just like saying like your career path, like what, like where'd you start? Did you always think that you were gonna be into Were you always doing something creative, or were you just like, you know what, like I'm gonna just try this out and then see how it goes? Because I think that what I've from talking to you and like these conversations we've had, like I know that you will see it through, right? And I think that like
Right.
it's shown, like, but I want the listeners to know like what you've done in order to get to where you are now.
Oh man, it's been a long road. Like I started out of my house working on my kitchen table,
Hmm.
um, probably doing the worst customs in the world. Like I thought they was cool back then, working on some LeBron James, some Kobe's, some stuff like that, a lot of Jordans. But it was just I started using spray paint, bro. Like
Hmm.
my first custom was with spray paint on a pair of Orion sevens. They was just sitting in the closet. I knew I wasn't gonna wear them. So I started painting with spray paint because I knew they wasn't going to last. So don't think that I was out here thinking I was going to sell some spray painted shoes, but I knew it wasn't going to last. But I wanted to see what it would look like,
Yeah.
and that's what kind of sparked the interest. I used to draw, in high school.
Hmm.
Used to play around with a little bit of stuff, nothing crazy. And then again, just wanted to alter some shoes. So I started in my house on my kitchen table, not even as a part-time gig. It was just for myself. And I would post it in the sneaker groups. My friends were all my sneaker groups, and they'd be like, "Oh, this is dope." And then it was like, how much to do this? And I was like, oh, I really ain't doing it for nobody.
Hmm.
But then I was like, man, why not? Why not maybe just do a couple, side gig jobs, whatever, and get some bread to buy some sneakers for my collection.
Hmm.
And then
What
I
was those
think I was
jobs?
probably,
What was those
man,
jobs?
I was doing like LeBron. I think like I started doing like South Beach on everything, bro. The South Beach colorway on Jordan 5s. I was doing South Beach colorways on Dunks.
Uh-huh.
I was doing South Beach colorways on anything I could touch, bro. I thought South Beach was the best colorway of all time. Still my favorite, but I was overkilling it. I was doing like
Had
the
everybody in
negatives.
that color.
Oh, bro, I was them. That was my go-to, bro. I was doing the reverse, the all gray, calling them the
Hmm.
Miami Vices, with a little bit of pink and turquoise, and
Uh-huh.
but that's what I was really into doing, was them kind of colorways. And I got into like the Joker. I was doing the greens and the purples and the
Hmm.
bright colors, the glow in the darks. I remember my Kobe sevens dart frogs, the poison dart frogs. Well, I
Yeah.
made my soul glow because I was
Oh,
like, oh, they should glow. Like they
they
should
should have.
glow.
Yeah.
And then slapped like a little plastic soul protector on there so you could actually wear it. But I was doing a lot of glow in the dark stuff. I
I
was
wish I
doing
knew you
I
back then, because
but you know what's
I would have been in
crazy?
on that.
You know what's crazy is a lot of the shoes that Nike's released, and I'm not that guy that's out here like, oh, Nike copied me, right? I've done
Mm-hmm.
a lot of shoes that Nike, the Red Thunders that just released. Look on my page back in 2012. I dropped that joint. The reverse blue games, I dropped them joints back in 2012. The all black 11s, I
Mm-hmm.
dropped them back in like 2011. So I've done a lot of stuff that I see being recreated, which I love. I absolutely love it. You know, I'm not that guy that's super hateful. Because I'm blessed for Nike and Adidas and all these other companies that let me do what I'm doing. Because that's you know,
Yeah.
um, I started painting. Then I started going outside of Nikes and doing Adidas and painting all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got my first big break is working with Ben Baller. I did stuff with E40,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when like the fame started coming. My boss was like, "Oh, we're quitting today. Let's make this a full-time gig. Like let's do this." So we left our job. He was HR, bro, and he quit his job to come manage me.
That's
And I was out
wild.
there. I was out here doing stuff for like Baby Bash for the celebrity golf
Uh-huh.
or celebrity basketball tournament, Chris Brown, and that's when like the celebrity status started coming in. Like I was dealing with all these high end clients, and that was a fun part of my career because we did a reality TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we started filming. I found out that I have way too much anxiety to do that kind of stuff. I don't like
Mm-hmm.
crowds. I don't like none of that stuff. But we shot an episode with Ben Baller, E40. We shot a episode with Baby Bash, and then I just pulled the plug. I was like, I
It
can't
was
do
like
this no
I'm
more.
done. Yeah.
This is in for me. It is in for
What?
because they wanted me to fight with everyone. My
Mm.
entourage, like my crew, they were like, "Oh, so and so did this. What do you think about that? Like this dude's, you know." And I was like, "Oh, this is just too much hate. Y'all
They
want just views."
they were trying to make it like Black Ink Crew or one of those like
100%, bro.
yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't for me. And I burned a lot of bridges by doing that, by being
Mm-hmm.
honest and just not being happy. And I don't want to do this anymore. So like my manager was like, he was super upset with me because he had a lot riding on this, and I felt super selfish afterwards. And I wish it would have went down another way. But that was a very important time in my career. I learned a lot,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then I took some time off. You know, my business went south. I burnt a lot of bridges. A lot of people's money got tied up in stuff that was at my shop.
Mm-hmm.
Money got pulled out from underneath me. I couldn't even pay my rent. I
Damn.
lost my apartment.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff went down that I had to come back from to get back into the game. There's a lot of bridges I had to come back and pay these dudes or send them some shoes, whatever it may
Mm-hmm.
be. I had to fix them and come back. I think I want to say like 2017 is when I was like, I'm coming back. Like
Well,
I'm going
what
back
were you
in the
doing?
game.
What were you doing to come back? What was it like? What was the game plan?
You know, it was fix all them bridges that I burnt. Mend them relationships was the very first thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there was like four dudes that I owed money. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
was it was a bad whole gig, and I went down for it. I had a whole crew but my name was the one that got dragged in the mud. But it was mend them bridges, and get my piece from that, and then start making some really dope sneakers, like some
Mm-hmm.
cool colorways, new concepts, new sneakers. There was all kinds of new stuff. Angelus came out with a bunch of new products that they sent me, and so it was like, okay, get back in the design mode and come up
Mm-hmm.
with some really cool stuff. And so I busted out maybe 2.5 years before I started grabbing that traction again,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was like, okay, the Utah Jazz reached out to me, the NBA reached out to me, the NFL. I got to start doing stuff for my cause, my cleats.
Mm-hmm.
And then my boy Tragic, like that, he became my best friend, and we just started working together. And I really started seeing this traction and the growth happening again, and just getting invited to work with these huge gaming companies, and just windows started opening, and then doors started opening, and then here I am now.
Now the garage is opening. Like
Now the garage is full effect. My wife can't park her new car in here. You know what I mean? So shout out to her for supporting me the way she does. Because again, my
yeah.
wife, she works. She runs the business.
Mm-hmm.
She makes sure that all the shipping gets out, whatnot. She helps keep it organized. So shout out to her. I love you, baby. I appreciate you.
Yeah, this one's out. This episode goes out to the lovely
Out to
wife.
Linda.
Yeah, to
Linda, I
Linda.
appreciate you, boo. I appreciate you.
Oh
Um,
man, it's just like what I'm definitely curious of like what was the lesson you learned from that, and what would you not what would you do differently, but what have you taken from that lesson and implemented into what you're doing now?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Stay humble. Stay humble.
Mm-hmm.
Um, don't because back then, I was young and I got into a lot of money, and it's just like your head grows and you feel like no one can touch you. You feel you just feel superior. I'll just say is you feel superior. You feel like everywhere you go, you should be somebody. I was entitled. I wouldn't go to a nightclub if I didn't get VIP. If I wasn't invited. All this just dumb stuff. Stay humble and just treat everyone the same whether you're a ball player or you're just a guy that loves sneakers. It doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? I treat everybody the same. Stuff goes south sometimes, but yeah, just don't bite off more you could do. Don't over promise, under deliver. It's hard, but just work. Shut the f up and just work. That's the best. Like I just work, bro.
The
16 plus hours a day.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely work a lot of hours. So, because,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I mean, but
you
you
talk to
said it.
anyone that knows me, they'll vouch
Yeah,
for that. You'll never
you
catch me outside this garage.
but you say that it's like it's hard for you to hate on doing something that you love, or like like, so like it doesn't seem like 16 hours to you because you're you
I
know
love it. I
yeah.
love what I do. I love sneakers. Like I truly love sneakers. I love creating stuff. Um, I do got a little something in the works though. I might be able to give you a sneak peek for Halloween, but I just love what I do. And this shoe just kind of shows
Mm-hmm.
what is so fun about what I do. Let me grab it real quick if you don't
All right.
but that's it. I love what I do. So to me, I'm not working, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So all right, this is the first time you're gonna see it's not done, but
I mean, this episode's not coming out till July, so
yeah. So
damn.
this is the new movie of Beetlejuice coming out.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So it's got the bugs on the insole. So this is the Beetle Dunk. It's got the glow sole.
Uh,
It's got the stripes. The tongue
that's
tag is super fire.
bananas.
The insoles, the box, everything's gonna be super. But this is fun. I get to create this stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
the bugs, bro. Like the bugs on the insole
Yeah, the
or
bugs
the
got
sock
me,
liner.
bro. Yeah.
Like this is why I love my job. Is like I can anything that I can see in my head. I have the tools inside my shop to create it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just a playground.
I love it. I love seeing like creativity, like, because like I had like just regular jobs most of my life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then until like, but I've taught myself Photoshop. I taught myself how to video edit, like all the stuff that I'm doing now for the podcast. I just built on stuff that I taught myself when I was younger,
Right.
and but it came out of a necessity of being wanting to be creative and not having an outlet, right?
Right.
What is your advice for people who are struggling like that, of just like they're in mundane but they want to do something, creative?
Man, I'll be honest. Like at some point in your life, the only downside to this advice is you might let time go by, but the universe, if you're gonna get fired from your job. If you're waiting to start your own business, it's just a
Hmm.
matter of time for the universe to tell you it's time. Don't wait for the universe. Just take the jumps. I say save up 3 months of salary, whatever it costs you to stay afloat, 3 months, and then go for it.
Hmm.
That's it. Like just jump because fear's the thing that stops everyone from doing their own thing. Am I going to lose my house? Am I going to lose? I don't know. I just don't have that fear. It's not built in me. I've always been a businessman. I'll deal with that when it comes. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
save up 3 months and go for it. Give it your all, everything.
No, yeah, I love that. I think I mean, the story on here, and told it several times. It took me 2 years to start this podcast. Like, for 2 years, I kept saying I had this idea, I have this idea, and I would just
Hmm.
talk to people and I'd be like, yeah, I have this idea for a podcast, but I never took the time to just be like, all right, I'm just gonna buy a computer, or make a computer and do it,
Yeah.
until COVID happened, and then now I'm just like, all right, I got all this time, I might as well. Like, we're in the house.
Yeah.
Everybody else
Yeah.
is also in the house, so I can get
Right.
everybody.
Right.
So yeah, I think I mean, don't wait for another pandemic. Definitely just jump right into
Facts.
it.
Facts. Yeah. Lose the fear. Cause I mean, don't be scared of no. And don't be rejection was my biggest fear,
Hmm.
But once you fail, like I failed so many times, it just becomes normal. Like it don't matter. Like it doesn't hurt my feelings anymore. I failed at everything. I failed at absolutely everything in my life, business, relationships,
Hmm.
being a son, being a father. I have failed at some point, different ranges of failure, but I failed at everywhere. Now I don't care. I'm willing to try anything.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. I think if you look at failure as like not a stepping stone to success,
Right.
then it becomes like that idea of failure becomes more daunting than anything
Right.
else, you know?
Yeah.
Um, what is I guess what made you want to actually start becoming, like, putting your content, like creating content and putting it out on TikTok and Instagram, and like what pushed you to and propelled you to that point?
I think what it was is back in like 2012 as a customizer, all you had to do was paint cool sneakers and then
Yeah.
post it, and then everyone else does the work for you. Nice Kicks, Sneaker Freaker Mag,
Mm-hmm.
Daily Jordans. Everyone does the work for you. They spread the love for you. And I was around when them pages started. So now in this industry, you have to have everything. You have to have the photography skills. You got to have the painting skills. You got to have the marketing skills just to kind of compete with everybody else. Because if you think your work's better and your photography skills ain't great and you can't take a good photo, no one's going to see it.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to be decent at everything to get your work. So you got to kind of step it up. But then I kind of fell in love with photography. Shout out AD Sneaks, my
Mm-hmm.
mentor when it comes to photography. So, but I kind of fell in love with that side of it as well. And then be just building relationships with all these other guys that help promote customizers. I fell in love with the whole package. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what drove me, was just I was just having fun with it. Again, just found therapy in all this. So yeah, that's it for me.
Ah, I love that. I mean, speaking of AD, like this last collab that you two, well, the most recent collab you did and you posted on your
Yeah,
page,
yeah.
you and him coming together and helping one of his students create a
Charlie
shoe.
B.
Yeah, like tell me about that. Like from beginning to end, like how did that opportunity even come about, and just like now where it's
Yeah.
at right now?
So that was real cool. So Andy, the coolest teacher out there, you know what I
Hmm.
mean, with his shoes, he implements sneakers into his classroom to get their attention, to keep that coolness, to have that relationship with his kids. Um, he told me about, it was crazy because we talked about this early in our relationship, that he does this every year with his class
Hmm.
to design a sneaker. He just prints out these, or they use like Procreate or Photoshop or one of the programs, and they design sneakers, and the winner just wins. That's it.
Hmm.
And then we did some stuff over All Star Weekend together. When I got hit up by the NBA and by Nike, did a collab with them. So he came out and filmed for me, and we just built this relationship. And he's like, "Hey, my kids brought your name up in class today," and I was like, "Oh, like that's cool. Like I'm kind of famous. Like they." And they like, yeah, they're stoked that I know you. And he's like, I got a question to ask you for them. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, shoot, like if you know me, all my charities for kids and stuff. So I was like, yeah, let's hear it. Like, I'm down. Well, they said, well, what if the winner gets his sneaker made by JSM 801?
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, I see where this is going. So he brought me in on this deal. Um, and again, he's done this several years. So this was the first year that we thought about making it for the winner.
Hmm.
So he said, all right, this is how we're going to do it. We'll make a video. We'll talk about what we're going to do. We're going to let the kids design it. Instagram will choose the winner. And then I'll make the sneaker, and we'll present it to the kid that wins.
Yeah.
And so we posted up all the sneakers, and 18 down to 10, down to 6, down to 3, down to 1, and Charlie B ended up winning with the off-white 3. And it was like, this kid's shoe is going to come to life. Like, I got to make this kid's vision.
Hmm.
And so to me, it was like, it was real surreal. I just felt super blessed to be a part of it. And then once I made it, I told AD, I was like, bro, I didn't make this cool enough. I better call the Jazz Bear real quick, because me presenting this sneaker is not going to be cool. So I call in a favor to the Jazz Bear. And come to find out, Charlie B, I will share this information because I have talked to his parents,
Hmm.
and this is completely out of respect. His mom is battling cancer.
Yeah.
That was touching to me because I've lost all my siblings to cancer. My mom, breast cancer, my grandmother, cancer's destroyed my family. So to see the smile on his mom's face while she's going through all this, that's what did it for me. That was the
Hmm.
satisfaction for me. Is I was standing back, Charlie B with AD and the Jazz Bear taking photos, and I'm looking at his mom, and I see his dad, and they're just ear to ear, full grins. No matter what she's going through at that moment, she got to see that. And I was like, this is why I do what I do.
Yeah.
It's that right there. And so for me, it was amazing, man. So now we're going to turn into something big. We're going to work with other schools, and we're going to take this, do this on a bigger scale, and we're just winging it. We really don't know what we're doing. We're just going to wing it and see what happens. So, but yeah, that was super blessed. So AD Sneaks, shout out to you for letting me be a part of that, man, because it, man, I don't want to get emotional, but
Get
man,
emotional, man.
that moment, it was amazing, man. That's the best feeling in the world. And for anyone out there that tells me that money can't bring you happiness, you ain't gave it enough away,
Hmm.
because that is that, we Andy bought that sneaker, we gave it to that kid. The smiles that it, man, pulls on every heartstring that I have. That's just absolutely amazing. So
No, I
now we
love
want to do
it.
it on a bigger scale.
Yeah, my friend recently shared that clip again, and I was just like,
Oh,
I was like, these are my boys, right? Like, yeah,
that's my people's.
yeah. I was like, I had them both
Yeah,
on the podcast, and he was just like, yo, that's sick. But I just love, like, I remember like scrolling through and seeing the contest. I obviously voted for that specific shoe, and I was just
yeah,
like, I
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
that to win. And it's interesting because the way, well, on top of how it affected, like, his family and everything, it's interesting because AD always does, his content is so pure, like in terms of
yeah.
just like what his sneaker content is. And I mean, we were talking about this earlier, just like, everything is so specifically, oh, you got to buy this, got to buy that, and
Mhm.
then for this contest to be created with you guys, and actually making something come to fruition, like we I think that's what's missing a lot in this game, because before it was just basic, like everybody, I felt like everybody was so creative before, like especially in like the 2000s, because it everybody wanted to be different. Like you
Right,
want people to stop you and be like, yo, my guy,
right,
like where'd you get those? And then if you hit
right.
him with the, oh, you gotta hit up JSM, like,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
and now like showing that to a kid at such a young age, like this is a possibility, like you can make this is something you thought of, and you were able to help, like get people, like a group of people, and then
Yeah.
we were able to make it come to life, right?
And
And
then
yeah.
and then a step further, when I was making the shoe and Andy was shooting some photos, I said, Andy, why don't we give this kid an option? I'm either gonna buy this design for this kid or he can get a royalty option.
Hmm.
So you present it to him. So we gave him the option. We let him go discuss it with his family because I'm not out here going to be a bad record label, and give him a bad deal and be like, yeah, I'll give you $100 for this idea.
Yeah.
I said you can make a royalty deal and you'll make a percentage off of every shoe. So
Hmm.
anyone that sees that shoe and wants to support this kid, if you buy that shoe off my website, jsm801.com, this kid does get royalties on every single pair that I make. So that we took it a step further. Why don't we teach them the financial side of this? Why don't we teach these kids that if they do take this serious and learn these skills, design stuff, there's money at the end of the road for them. They can pay their bills, they can help
Hmm.
out their family, whatever the case may be. So I said, let's let the kid make some money. And so he decided to take a royalty on every deal, which I was hoping he'd go for because you
Yeah.
never know how many this is going to sell, And so I said, why don't we teach these kids more than just design? Let's teach them financial, gain from their hard work.
Hmm.
And that's what I want to teach. Hard work pays off. That's what I teach my son. He's 14. He's got his own business, sneaker business, cleaning business. The kid makes like a rack a week. He hustles. He's grinding. He's 14. He owns his own car. It's just hard work, hard
Damn.
work.
I wish I was your
And
son.
right. So yeah. And the crazy thing is I put it on my son when he was early. He didn't really dig it. So I
Uh,
kind of let him, do his own thing. He want to play video games. And then a couple years later, he came back and he was like, yo, this is what I want to do. And so we did it. And then his first custom is for the Sexton brothers, Colin and Jordan Sexton.
mhm.
Did a pair of South Beach LeBron 20 lows. And
Oh,
so that's his very
calling
first
back
custom,
to
bro.
your
Right.
origin
Yeah,
story.
bro. Yeah, for a jazz player that set me off. And so my son following that footsteps is,
Uh,
is it's real meaningful for me. I
that's
find
dope.
happiness in that.
I love that. I love that. It's very interesting to share uh sneakers with, like, the next in line. I don't know how you want to call it.
Right. The
The
next
tree.
generation
Yeah, exactly. The
pass on
next
the torch. And
generation.
that's the problem with this game is I think a lot of my generation messed it up. And that's why replicas and all this are so snuck their way into our world is because we gatekeeped. We was like, oh, we're not telling you where we got these. We're not telling you about these. We didn't pass on that knowledge that like the guys that taught me about sneakers, they passed it on to me. But we like withheld that information. So these kids are like, we don't care about the sneakers. We just want the shoe. We just want the Travis Scotts, and I can buy them for $40 over here. They look the same. Who cares? And
Yeah,
it's not just the shoe for us. It's
it's
sure
not.
it's a shoe, but it's not just the shoe. the SB's got all the stories, man. If I could choose, I would go to SB. I'd be designer for SB because, man, I love stories. I love stories with
I love
sneakers.
stories too, man. That's what pulled me in. Like when I first started collecting, it was SBs. I think the community was a real selling point for me because like once you jump into it and you're like, yo, this has a story, and then people are just like, they're like, yeah, you gotta go here for this, and like
Yeah,
I was fortunate, like I didn't experience too much gatekeepering when I first started because
yeah,
people were telling me about this stuff. It's just being a size 13, it's nearly impossible, especially for dunks. Like it
yeah.
wasn't.
Dunks.
Yeah,
You don't get a lot of dunks. I was rocking 12s. I was pulling out insoles and wearing super thin socks.
yeah.
Like they hurt my feet. I couldn't wear them longer than a couple hours. Like it sucked. Um, and then yeah, I mean, I just loved film like the Ferris Bueller's, the Pee Wee Hermans. Like there were stories. They came from something. They weren't just, and I fell in love with it. And I think that's what helps me. And that was kind of what I was kind of touching base on before. Is
Hmm.
that's where I kind of get the small details and stuff like these Beetlejuices. I make sure that the logo on his headstones on the back, the Beatles coming out of the shoe,
Hmm.
the stripes, the tongue tag. Wait till you see the tongue tag. It's super dope. Like I implement them because I was taught by Nike how to design these shoes. You
Yeah.
know, I paid attention to all the small details, and it's all in the stories, all in because like country music, bro.
I love that. I love that. You got, yo, you gonna have to give me a minute. I have to go to the bathroom real quick. Give
Are
me
you
a
good?
minute.
He
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
"Cut,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just,
cut.
I,
Let me
I,
grab some
I can't.
cards real quick.
Give me like, I'm gonna need like
Clap
five plus.
hands."
Yeah. Bam. All right. Cool. All right, man. You gotta let me know what is your favorite custom.
Oh man, to date, um, it's always kind of hard to choose from, right? Because I feel like I've done so many cool customs, and each custom has a little piece of my heart.
Mhm.
I mean, because like I love seeing my idea come to mind, but this specific one was originally designed by my man Tragic 1993.
Mhm.
Shout out to my brother, but I just kind of took his because he did it years ago, and I kind of I asked him to make one for me. He's like, "Nah, you make your own, bro. Like I ain't doing it for you. Like I offer full commission, whatever, because I
Yeah.
support my people. You know what I mean?" And he's like, "Nah, you gotta do it yourself. Like I ain't gonna do it
Mhm.
for you." So then I thought of an idea of like taking his concept and then making it my own. And if you noticed all my Air Max customs, I put a Jordan 1 tongue on. I don't
Mhm.
really like Air Max tongues. So I took his original Freddy Cougar, which hands down is my favorite custom of all time that I've ever done.
Mhm.
Um, and I kind of put my touch on it. So again, shout out to Tragic for you know letting me do this. Guide me through the process,
Mhm.
whatever. But I decided to put some lights in here, put the lights in there, which he had. I did the custom Freddy Cougar insoles, but I
Mhm.
put the Jordan 1 tongue with the
Yeah.
3M reflective
Woo.
tongue tag. So it's
Uh-huh.
just looks like the street sign from Elm Street. And then of course the buttons inside the third lace hole that you never use, and it's got the red lights in there. But yeah, the blood splats, of course. Angelus just makes the craziest paints. You got the metallic silver that represents the fingers, the blades, his clothing, his iconic sweater. The browns, I did the Elm Street logo on the laces
Oh
to
wow.
add kind of a touch, you know what I mean? And then of course the 3M, so this actually reflects as well. And yeah, to date, this is hands down my favorite custom again from SB's, my inspiration, just like SB does theirs. This was the Freddy Cougar Air Max 90.
It's always interesting because like I was talking to at how like the Freddy Cougars are so crazily sought after, right?
Mm-hmm.
Recouping amounts of like 20 to 20 30,000, depends on which pair.
Right,
and
right. Depends
and
what year. Yeah, because there's
yeah.
like three or four different pairs.
And like your custom is, I would say, is better than those pairs. Straight up,
um,
because they couldn't, I mean, obviously because of like the reason why there isn't like a general release pair is because they couldn't get the universal sign off on them. And like you're able to do the like the Elm Street tongue, like you're able to do those laces, like it's totally different.
right. I don't know if that's gonna mess up the recording. Is it, Ganu? I don't know if that like flashed out.
It did a couple times, but it's fine. I'm leaving that in.
Uh,
I'm
all
leaving
right,
that
cool. All right.
in.
But yeah, I would definitely never go as far as say it's something I created is better than the original. You know what I mean? And I get what you're saying completely, and I appreciate that. Honestly, I appreciate that because that's kind of my goal, right? Is if I never expect mine to be better than the original. I just expect mine to be able to be right there and be like, oh man, well, I love this about your custom. Um, but yeah, I didn't do this custom because I I thought it was going to be better, or hey, buy my version because it's way cheaper
Right.
than the three that wasn't released.
Mhm.
That wasn't it. It was like I could have made me a Freddy Cougar dunk, but that's not really my style. I don't like making shoes that already exist. But yeah, being able to add lights and tongue tags, and I mean, they made that dunk decades ago. So like things have evolved, and technology just
Mhm.
it's been, we did the mag, I redid the mag and added all the lights into it, made it real cool.
That's
Again,
crazy.
shout out to Tragic. But yeah, I mean, I just love a 90. I love a 90, and I love the Freddy Cougar vibe. So I was
Mhm.
like, two best of both worlds for me. So yeah, this was hands down. But no, I appreciate that compliment. But no, I'm just glad mine's considered one, that to be up there with that one. So shout out to Angelus for all the amazing paints you guys do. But yeah, they make it possible for us guys to do this stuff. So
Yeah, facts, facts, facts. And listen, all right. The only reason I'm saying this is because I'm not a big fan of the Freddy Krueger dunks. Like the way
okay.
the way like when they first dropped, and I was the one I was on the forums being like they are right because
Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah.
jam. I'll be honest, like out of the bunch that dropped, the bunch of shoes that never released, but we have pictures of.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
favorite is the Iron Maiden dunk that never released.
That's my all-time
Yeah,
favorite. And
right.
you know what's crazy is I could have bought a size 9 that was on eBay.
Uh-huh.
It went for like $1,100. It was a size 9. It was beat. It was beat, but I could have restored it. And I was like, nah, I just can't do it. Iron Maiden dunk is the sickest dunk ever made, bro. Like that dunk is so sick.
It's so fire. Like translucent check, like
Yeah,
the whole like
the
I'm not even
troll on the
yeah, the
side,
troll
like,
on the
and
side.
I like
Yeah.
Iron Maiden, so a
Yeah.
lot you may not like it, but that dunk is sick,
I'm
bro.
not a huge fan of Iron Maiden, but like I've been to like I can hold
Yeah,
my own. Like I know
yeah,
some
they got some good
songs.
songs. They
Yeah,
got some
yeah,
good
yeah,
songs.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah, for
so like
sure.
I don't know if you've ever been in New York. There's this bar here
Yeah,
and
definitely.
called Duff's. And it's a metal bar. So like all the jukeboxes is just nothing but metal, and like you go in the back, it's like themed, like it has like an electric chair you sit in,
Oh,
and
that's dope.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
sick.
I'll next time you
Ride
come
the
out,
lightning.
yeah,
Ride the
yeah. Next time
lightning.
you come out,
Yeah,
they sell Iron Maiden's beer, so like you can drink Iron Maiden's beer.
I'll be there. I'll
Yeah,
definitely coming
yeah.
out.
We
Definitely.
when you pull up, we going in there.
Yeah. Oh, no
But
doubt.
like, yeah, just I would just like I'd be like I would want those just to wear it in there, just to fit the aesthetic.
Like, right. Such a
Like,
dope idea. I'm a big fan of that shoe, bro. Because I remember when I got one of the 100 books made by Soul Collector, the very
Mhm,
first hardbound, and they nicknamed it the Nike Golden Bible.
mhm.
And I just remember flipping through all the pages in that Iron Maiden because it talks about the where the sneakers came from, where the stories came from, how
Yeah.
Eminem got involved with it, and the Iron Maiden dunk. I was like, man, that dunk is the sickest dunk. Like I would take that over any shoe in this book. That's the one I would take. That's crazy that you'd like that shoe too.
And we
That's
here,
dope.
we here, man. We here, we here.
Yeah, that's a dope dunk.
Speaking of we talked about like how I got into sneakers, but like what was that first shoe that you were like, I'll buy this with my own money?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Uh,
So I came prepared. So I remember, and shout out to my boy Matt Sterrett and his older
mhm,
brother Troy. I know he gonna see this. But Matt Sterrett was kind of the cool kid on the block.
mhm,
Dude got all the sneakers. I remember going and seeing like the 11s when they popped, in 2001. Dude got like his mom. Shout out to Pam. She's like a mom to me.
mhm,
She hooked him up with all the sneakers, and my mom wasn't like, she didn't have it like that. So
mhm,
I just got to go see the shoes. But I remember his older brother said, "Hey man, I'll sell you these shoes for $60."
mhm.
And they was like 3 sizes too big, bro. Like when I tell you they was like clown shoes on me, I stuffed a
Mhm.
pair of socks in the toes. And I remember my mom making fun of me. She's like, just take them off. They're way too big. But he let me pay him in increments too, like $10 here, $10 there, and he let me take them. So it's almost like on layaway, but I gotta wear them. And they was way too big, but this was the shoe right here. The Penny Hardaway. Like this was
Penny
So
One?
this is the penny
No,
one, yeah,
one.
the
Yeah,
penny
yeah,
one.
yeah.
And so he was like, wait, he's like $60, you could have them, you could take them. And I mean, I would wear them, and they were all creased on a toe box, like they were all. It was tied so tight, bro. Like it was that like.
Oh my God.
Remember when they always said like the white basketball players tied their shoes way too tight?
Yeah.
That was me because it was 10 times too big. And so
Did you
this
ever grow
was the
up,
very
grow
first
into
shoe.
that size though?
Yeah, 100%. By the time I
Really?
got to wear it, though, it was so beat up. I was like, oh, I can't wear this no more. It was so wrinkled and so just like trashed. Yeah, but this was the very first shoe that I spent my personal money on. So this shoe holds a lot of nostalgia for me.
What was that job? You remember that job?
Man, I was mowing lawns, bro. I'll be 100% honest too. I was stealing money. My mom would be like, have like $2 in her purse, and I'd be like, oh, let's take $2 and add it up, and then I had to pay
Yeah.
my $10 every week. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
no, shout out to my parents, man. They at least had enough money for me to like earn, mowing lawns. I'd go around the neighborhood. I remember my next door neighbors. Man, what was their? I can't remember their name now, but they always paid me like $20 to mow their lawn. It was so big though, and it was all weeds. And they would give me like $20 to mow the lawn, but it was like once every 2 weeks. It was cool. So,
This is
but
before
yeah, that was just
allergies
it was,
existed.
I was blessed. I didn't have any back then. I was blessed.
Because there was definitely a point in our lives that pollen did not exist, and we were
Yeah.
out there not sneezing, and
We
then
was
this,
immune to it, bro.
yeah,
We was outside. We was outside. Like we wasn't
outside.
inside on playing Nintendo all day, bro. We was out on our bikes, jumping off
Mhm.
jumps. We could break our necks. Our parents didn't even see us for 20 hours. They forgot they had kids, bro. Like I remember back then they had commercials for that. I've seen this on TV. They back when I was a kid, they had a commercial for the parents be like, "Do you know where
Know
your
where your
kids
children
are at?"
are. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's 10
like they
o'clock.
had
Do you know
these.
where your children are? Yeah,
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 like
yeah.
as long as we checked in by the time the lights went out, we checked in, say, hey, I'm gonna sleep over at Matt's house tonight. My mom's all right, cool. Just have his mom call my mom, make sure it's
Mhm.
cool. And then I didn't come back till like noon the next day, grab some food and then back out, you know. I was gone, bro. We
I
wash our
mean,
bikes out front.
it's wild.
So
Now you have to have a phone, and like,
yeah,
doesn't matter what age you are. So
tracking system.
imagine like the way it was before, just like no phones. Like you had to have
You had to go see if your
quarter.
homie was home. You had to
Yeah.
ride your bike to his house to see if he was home to play. You couldn't just call him up because my sister would be on the phone talking to her boyfriend. I'd be like
Mhm.
waiting. And then my mom finally got the double line. Remember, you could get the double line where they
Yeah.
called and you could pick it up. Oh, I'm on the phone, call him, but later. I'm like, give me the damn phone. I'm like, the F it, I'm going to ride to his house. You
Just
know what I mean?
screaming
Then,
outside his window, like, yo,
yeah,
yo, yo.
yeah, for real. Like, hey, because his dogs would be out front. I
Yeah.
didn't want to let him out. Like, hey,
Mhm.
Matt. you know. And that was my dude back in the day. But yeah, shout out to his older brother, man, because that's he kept sneakers in my life at that time. It kind of motivated me to keep it going and make more money and buy more sneakers. So that
Yeah,
was a big
man.
part of my sneaker
You
game.
you have so much hustle in you. Like it's I don't know if like now we see it differently, but like that the old way of like just always trying to make sure that you gonna come out on top is definitely
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's rare to see. Like even my friends tell me they're like, man, I wish I had that in me. It's just like I knew I wasn't going to college. I was a dumb one in the family. My oldest brother was the smart dude. My sister was super smart. But I knew I wasn't. I was in junior high. I knew I wasn't going to college.
Mhm.
I knew I wasn't going to have this nice job where I was wearing a suit. I was an MMA fighter for 10 years. I was a car mechanic, for this many years. Like my job, and I just had a problem with authority.
Mhm.
So I knew I wanted to I opened my first business at 18, car detailing. I sold suckers in junior high and in elementary school to make
Mhm.
money. Like I knew I was always that guy that was willing to hustle. And then of course the streets came calling and I found an easy way to make money doing that, and that's where I got
Mhm.
my business degree. And then it just implemented into sneakers and, all the other business I had. So yeah, I will admit that and give myself I do have a hustler's
Yeah.
mentality, but you had to, where I came up, you had to have that.
No, yeah. It's something that can be taught, but it
Yeah.
can be easily be learned, which is the hard. It's
Facts.
like it's
Hmm.
like it's so hard to get it across because you can't really do that now. Like it's either like you are
Yeah.
like
It can be brought
hustling.
out. It can be
Yeah,
brought out. But it's in you. It has to
yeah.
be in you.
It has to
And it
be.
either gets brought out or it doesn't. You go
Yeah.
work your 9 to 5, which is cool. I ain't got no problem with 9 to 5s. I just knew it
Hmm.
wasn't meant for me, you know?
The
So,
it's just wild because like even if you think about it like in what we see now in more like resellers, like it's
oh,
the way it looks, it's like you, it's selling something. It's selling something that we
Yeah,
love with passion to
yeah,
people that are supposed to be passionate about it, right?
yeah.
And so like the price ranges, and it's just like when people complain about it, or like when the resellers complain about why you complain about our prices, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're trying to make $50 on something. Like, get the hell out of here. Like,
$30 profit, bro. Good for you. No, I have a love-hate relationship with them guys. And I remember back in 2012, we'd be waiting in line, camping out for sneakers, and there'd be a dude at the back of the lines like, "Oh, I'll just get whatever's available. I'm just selling them anyway." We would whoop that dude's ass. We'd run him out the line. You
yeah.
resellers they were like cancer to us,
Hmm.
and so we made sure that we was the chemo. We ran it out of the system, and
Hmm.
then it just kept getting worse, and then it was like now we're not the majority anymore.
Right. Yeah.
You got these dudes that don't even love sneakers waiting
Hmm.
in line talking about they the go, like they the plug, and I'm just like, bro, you don't even know what's coming out, like you don't even. And then Nike just shits all over us with like when they released like Lightning fours, which was like a holy grail to us
Hmm.
back in the day, and it just sits on the shelf, and I'm just like, all this bottle on top of us, like sneaker enthusiasts, guys that really have passion for sneakers, we just got shit all over in every aspect. So, but now I learned to appreciate it. Like,
Yeah.
I love seeing kids hustling, selling
Hmm.
sneakers. I'm cool with it now. I don't have that hate. I'm at peace with it. So,
Yeah, I mean, as long as you get your pair, I'm always like, I'm in this point where like, as long as I get my pairs, I'm fine, right? And if it's like, and I'm also like, and if even if I don't get the pair, there's always going to be another one, right?
yeah, yeah,
So I think that if more people thought like that, there'd be less room for resale, because then people aren't going to be
yeah.
like, I'm going to pay the $1,000 right now.
Well,
Like,
that's just
yeah.
it. Like, finally, people are learning that. Like, if we don't
Hmm.
pay that high market price, it has to come down because these
Hmm.
dudes need their money. Because 9 times out of 10, it's a 10-year-old being a little dramatic, but it's
Hmm.
it's it's a 15-year-old kid. It's a 15-year-old. God, sorry about that. It's a
It's all
15
good.
year old kid
Yeah.
that's bought 5 pairs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He needs his return. He needs that money back. So he's
Hmm.
going to eventually fold and be like, all right, I'll take $30 over retail, and
Yeah.
he'll fold. Um, but I will lie, it still kind of irks me when I see a shoe that's super limited, like 25,000 pairs, 30,000 pairs, and you see a
Hmm.
dude that has like 300, and you're like, the hell? How did
Yeah.
I build all these relationships? I built all this thing, and this dude been doing reselling for a year. He got 30 pairs over there. I'm like, this mother, like,
It's
you know what I
wild.
mean?
I do say this. I do say that to say this. Like, I think it's like, what do you think? How do we get more people to be more forthcoming, instead of like spending the 150 3 weeks out of the year and putting that money and buying like a custom, like what it, because I do think
Oh,
customs run on the
yeah.
expensive side, so like, yeah, well,
Especially with
what
me, I'm
yeah.
super overpriced.
But like, but what do you, how would you suggest it or sell it to people, be like, um it's worth it to go this route?
um, for me, customs, it's like anything else. It's something that's, it's made for you. It's
Hmm.
it's everything to your liking. Uh, at me as a customizer, I want you to buy my work because I'm gonna build enough rapport with you to tell, when you're explaining what you want, that in that conversation, that I can make a shoe out of what the words coming out of your mouth, and it's a shoe 9 times out of 10 that nobody's else is gonna have.
Hmm.
I do offer a plan to where if you want me to make a shoe that I will not resell, you can pay for that.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a guy that's very untouchable. You can't just email me and get a certain custom done. I passed that already. As much as I hate to be that guy,
Hmm.
I have my select few. I can only make so many customs. So I pick my VIP guys, and you got to know somebody and know somebody. But if you miss on a drop and now that sneaker's $2,000, spend $1,000 and get a sneaker exactly how you want it. If you like
Hmm.
that colorway but you want it on a shoe that you really love, let's do that same colorway on a different silhouette. Let's put the insoles that have some kind of stuff that you want, that's personable to you. um but we can literally do anything, custom boxes. So yeah, I would definitely say if you're not in it for the money, You don't care about wearing a $2,000 sneaker and then selling it for 1,500 after you wear it once and flex to the world like you're a cool cat.
Mm-hmm.
Spend $1,000 on a custom. You know what I mean? It's personal to you. You'll keep it forever. You'll never forget about it, and you'll always break necks. Like people like, yo, what is that? You know. So yeah, I would definitely think that a custom is a very safe route to go, and a lot of customizers out there, so you're always ready to get a custom made. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to cross your fingers and hope the sneaker gods bless you with it. You just pay for it. So
Yeah, I mean, I get that. That's absolute fact. As we're towards the end of the podcast, and I like to ask another question to just like end the podcast on, and that question is, well, first I want you to travel back in time and think about that one time that where you were about to get the Nike Air Barrages, right? You paid the $69.99. What was it, $69.99?
Yeah, $69.99.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you pay the
yeah.
$69.99, right? And you're about to open the box, but now you yourself have traveled back in time and standing right behind you as you're about to open that box. What would you tell your younger self as they open that box?
Open it slower.
Yeah.
I didn't care about the boxes back then. I just wanted what was inside of it. So it was like, if it, get it open real quick, throw away the paper. I wish I would have just been like, this is the shoe that started it. Keep this one, put this one away. Don't beat this one in the ground. Give it a little bit of respect because this is the shoe that started it all for you. And I wish I still had that original shoe because when my mom does pass, that's going to be something I would think about. Like if I had that first shoe in my hand, that would be the piece that my mom has set my life. Like everything I do is sneaker related.
Yeah.
And it all started with that $69.99, that money that she sewn her whole life. Like that money she earned set me up for this. Like it literally paved my path. And so I wish I would have kept it. I wish I would have wore it with a little bit more respect and I would have kept them. And if I would have known that this is what my life would have came to, I would have the biggest shelf for just that shoe, because I know when she passes, man, there was a way for me to find that shoe. There's probably no amount of money that I wouldn't pay to have it.
I mean, now I'm gonna have to look. I'm gonna have to see if I can find them. Help you out,
John,
right
I got
there.
$1 million and it's yours, baby. It's even got your initials on it.
I'm gonna buy them and sell them to you. Like, I paid $50, but I'm not gonna let them know. I'm like, here you go.
Right.
Here you go.
But yeah, realistically, like these young cats that are getting to collect, keep that first shoe. Yeah. Keep that first shoe, because you never know where you're going to be in the sneaker game in 20 years. Every guy that I have some sort of relationship with sneakers. I think we all wish we would have had that one shoe that we started out with.
Oh yeah, man. If I had my khaki high SB still,
right.
I can't even see them less. Like I think the last 13 I saw was like $700.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck.
I was like, nope.
Good luck even finding a good deal. Yeah,
and nobody wanted them too. It's the worst part. Nobody. That's
always the best. That's always the best shoes. Look at the Jordan 1 Band 1 from 2011 went straight to outlets. You got all the shoes that sat on shelves that nobody cared about are now the ones you're paying for. The 2015 Chicago, bro, I couldn't sell that for $100 in 2015. $100 I put on every
side. Like 700 right now, or like 1,500 right now.
Yeah, they're like that's up towards $2,000 in my size, but I couldn't sell it for $100 back then. It's always the one that sit on the shelves, and somehow they mysteriously just blow up in price.
Yeah,
it's like StockX is buying them all for $100 and then raising the prices when they own
them. Set them up. Yeah. It's wild, man. Well, John, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. And you know what we say every week. Wear your kicks. Peace.